We are here this morning with Paul Billingham, the Commodore of the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. Welcome, Paul. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Rob.
We've got this great Noakes, Sydney to Gold Coast yacht race coming up on the weekend. How's it all looking?
Oh, it's looking like a cracker. I mean, we've got 77 boats, I think 76 this morning, one's had to drop out. The quality of the fleet this year is fantastic. A lot of great 60-footers. I think there's 11 TPs out there as well.
Wow.
So yeah, a real mixed bag of competitors, but really exciting racing ahead.
And obviously in winter time the weather plays an important role in all this. What's the weather looking like?
Yeah, it's looking a bit patchy. So we were talking about this last night amongst some of the board, a number of them are racing up this year, and the wind's coming from all directions and not particularly strong. So quite interested to see how it unpacks from Saturday onwards.
Okay, with a race like this, we have a lot of current flowing from north to south. Mm-hmm. The boats are going from south to north. A lot of coast hopping.
Well, you'd think so. I mean, I'd imagine the navigators and the tacticians are going to have their work cut out, working where to go. And if the wind comes in late, there could be a small boat race again.
Yeah. So tell us, what are the biggest boats? We haven't got the big 100-footers out there, but certainly the quality of the fleet, as you mentioned.
Yeah.
What are the guys that are going to be charging for line
Yeah, we still have a small boat now, and I've got a 40-footer, but we do like to look at the big end of the fleet. There's 4 or 5 great 60-footers. Obviously, Wild Oaks 10 going up is probably the most noteworthy. I think she's probably just about the largest. But David Goetz' new boat, I think it's called No Limits or Unlimited, is the old Voodoo Child from last year.
Yes.
Good opportunity. I think Rupert Henry's taken up Chinese Whisper, which he had adapted for two-handed racing for the Osaka race. So a whole bunch of those boats will be vying it out. But of course, our sponsor Sean Langman on his RP65 naval group's going up.
For sure.
He'll be fancying himself a line-ons, I reckon.
Yeah. Now with a race like this, I'm going to put you on the spot. Who's going to win it on handicap?
Not a hope, no chance. I mean, again, it comes on what the weather's going to do. If it starts off patchy, then you've got to think it's going to be tough for the big boats.
Yeah.
If it comes through, you've got some of the smaller boats we've seen in the past, how some of these 35, 40-footers go. We've got, I think, 6 or 7 Sydney 38s out there, so it could be anybody's race, which makes it exciting. Yeah. Last year was a big boat race with the Supermaxes, this year it's something different.
Okay. Now look, with a race like this and the importance of having Noakes Boatyard supporting the race, I believe they've got a multiple year arrangement with the Cruising Yacht Club of Australia. How important is that to functioning of this race?
Functioning the club. I mean, at the end of the day, without our sponsors, particularly what Sean and Noakes have been doing, not just in the club but in the Sydney yachting community, we can't run races like this as effective as we like. We're getting much better TV coverage, drone footage and so on this year. That takes money, it takes effort, it takes cost, and we need people like Noakes to support us. So having Noakes on board for 5 years, this is the second year of their relationship, incredibly important, and I know all of the sailors and the skippers appreciate that support.
That's great, isn't it? And with recreational boating growing at the rate it is, I suppose the importance of having someone like Noakes Boatyard and the facilities over there in North Sydney is very important. Can you make a comment on that?
Look, I couldn't agree more. I mean, Sydney Harbour's quite limited in terms of the options, and Noakes over at Lavender Bay really, really close. This is a record fleet over the last decade here. The Sydney Hobart 75th coming up at the end of the year, looking at well over 100 boats entering for that. They need to be looked after, and we need people like Sean and the Noakes team doing that.
Oh, that's great. And if people want to follow the race, we've got the track boxes on the boats?
They're being installed this morning behind me as we speak. So they're going around putting on we call them the yellow bricks. They're going on board. It'll all be live on the Noakes Sydney Gold Coast Yacht Race website, and there'll be regular updates from our media team throughout the whole event.
Great. Well, thanks to Cruising Yacht Club of Australia for putting on this great race, and we wish you all the best for the race.
Thanks,
and
Rob.
Also for the big one coming up later in the year, the Sydney to Hobart.
Fantastic. Thanks for coming along.
Thank you.
Cheers.
Well, we're here down at Noakes Boatyard, and I'm here with Managing Director, CEO and owner of the Noakes Group.
Is it title?
Sean, in preparations for this week's Noakes Sydney to Gold Coast Yacht Race. Lovely day to be working in a boatyard.
Oh look, it's perfect, Rob, and Noakes is actually celebrating 25 years in this bay in the next couple of months, and now with our next development application we're looking for the next 30. So pretty exciting. Only a few days to go before the race. I'm very much hands-on,
as we can see,
working in the yard, and the boat preparation's coming on well.
Yeah, look, your love of boats is probably second to none in Australia, if not the world. just looking behind us here now, you know, we've got the Rosman Ferries, we've got Naval Group, which is the boat that you'll be sailing this Saturday in the CYC race. You've got all these recreational boats you're servicing. You know, how did you get interested in boats in the first place?
Well, I suppose how lucky am I, Rob? I was actually literally born on a boat in Sydney Harbour that my parents lived aboard. And when I left school and I was kicking around, I became a shoe salesman, then was offered a job to sweep the floor at Alspar. And I did that for a few years and I loved that. And then there was an opportunity to join John Noakes in the early 80s, and I did that and fundamentally haven't looked back. But yeah, I'm very fortunate in that I've been able to have my passion of sailing, my passion of old timber boats wrapped up in what I actually do for a living.
Well, you know, with your love of boats, you do have an affection to timber wooden boats, as we can see. You know, the Rosman Ferries, you know, historic ferries from Sydney Harbour. With the increasing growth in recreational boating, is there enough facilities here in Sydney and the region to service that increase in growth?
Sad thing is that as much as people talk about working harbour and the love of working harbour, it is diminishing quite rapidly. So now Noakes today is hanging on to our water lease and really pushing forward with our apprenticeship program. Now to put the floating dry dock just behind us will really future-proof the company for the next 25, 30 years.
Yeah. Look, obviously there's a focus on cleanliness and doing the right thing with our water and our air and noise pollution, all those type of things. What's Noakes Group doing about those sort of issues?
So again, I'm proud of the fact that in 1993 this was the first Australia-wide environmentally compliant boat and shipyard. And we've really been at the forefront of that. The EPA recently said if you want this floating dry dock here, you've got to give us something better than best practice. So now we're removing all volatile organic compound from the atmosphere when we actually apply paint. So we're putting in line a carbon filter into our already air filtration system. So that's a real biggie. And as
so
far
just
as
go back, a floating dock. So
yes.
A floating dock's going to come here. So instead of taking the boat from the water out onto the hard stand, it goes onto a floating pontoon, which allows people to work on it. But you're saying all the environmental applications are already there and are better than what's happening at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. The hard stand as it is best practice. The slipway that we've had that we'll still maintain will be only used for heritage vessels that we can do much more slowly. So basically that's a give back to the Sydney Heritage Fleet.
Yes.
So in lieu of having the slipway, which now is problematic as far as the environment goes, we'll put the floating dry dock in, and because it has got sidewalls, it makes it quite easy to put in again another bit of Australian technology that we've come across to get the sound actually half of what we're speaking now.
Wow.
So it's pretty exciting. A lot of pushback about it locally, and what that's done is actually make us look inwardly, look at ourselves and actually say, look, you know, we can do a better job here. So I'm pretty excited about it.
Yeah. So when's Naval Group hit the water? It's looking pretty fast there for Saturday.
You know, the really good thing about having your own boatyard, it'll go in on Saturday morning. so we can really keep it polished. We put on a few beers on Friday afternoon and get the guys to give it a little bit more
tickle.
a bit more of a tickle, and which is great because the whole boat and shipyard's behind what we do, and the crew actually 70% of the crew comes from Noakes. So it's our own internal sort of initiative.
That leads me to the fact you did mention the apprenticeship that you supply here. You've got 7 apprentices, which is quite rare in Australian industry to actually take on apprentices. It's not like it was 30 or 40 years ago. Why and how can you justify putting apprentices on? You know, give us your gut feel and all that.
Yeah, well again, it's really for future proofing. Out of the 7, 4 of them were actually walk-ins. They walked in and asked if there was any opportunities here. So we presented the idea of being an apprenticeship, right? For me, it's sort of lay down misère that I was given a lot of guidance, and even back in the day when I started with you, Rob, you know, like I was given a lot of guidance by my peers, and now I'm at a point where we've done well in the industry that I really see the opportunity to give back.
Yeah. Okay, you've got high-tech boats. The company obviously caters for all types of boats here. Have you been restricted in what you can actually take on board here? And if so, with this applications you've got in, how will that sort of improve things for the Noakes Group?
Yeah, look, it's quite interesting. The development consent, which is dated 1993, is actually only 6 pages long. And our development application today is almost 2,000 pages long. So things have obviously changed over the years, and that needed to happen. Obviously more environmental awareness. The big pushback now obviously is plastic in the ocean, which we're all working very hard to remove. So it's part of due process. It's the restrictions that we have on us now aren't overly onerous. We've actually backed ourselves off. We had quite an extensive ferry fleet here other than Rosman over the years, and we've looked at that and gone, well, as other facilities were developed specifically for them, it was better that they weren't here, because 2 a.m. finishing a charter, putting bottles and that into the bin wasn't particularly good for our neighbours. So we're very much now 7 a.m. through to 6 p.m. business, no work on Sundays and half a Saturday.
Sean, getting behind such a historic race as the Sydney to Gold Coast race, I believe you've done a multi-year deal with them. Just tell us a little bit about your support for this race with the CYCA.
Noakes is very excited about the opportunity of the CYC. It was offered to us as a last-minute gig last year, and we picked that up. And we found that, again, Noakes has got many facets to it. Water police, Sydney ferries, our various tasks that we do, but yachting really is our core business and really is our roots. So when the opportunity was presented for a 4 or 5 year deal, we put our hand up and said, we want to continue on with this. So there's a few things with me with this Gold Coast race. I've won it on IOR in the smallest boat, and years ago with Dave Kellett we got line honours in the Condor. But what it does, it actually finishes on my dad's birthday. And my dad lives up on the Gold Coast, so we're going to have a barbecue with the crew around Dad's place afterwards. So there's a lot of attachment for me personally with the race. I find it an incredibly tactically challenging race, and you don't get bored. It's pretty close to the land.
Well, you're one of the bigger boats this year. There's no maxis, so your boat is 69 foot. The old money penny.
They used to be called maxis, mate.
So obviously there's going to be a real good contest for line honours. What sort of conditions are you looking for? What is the most favoured condition, say, for the naval group?
We're still learning about naval group. We've got some plans for the Sydney Hobart race where we've actually strengthened the boat a lot, and it's really a plan to finish the race. This race we decided to go with just 10 people. So that means that we've got a lot less safety gear, because
you might have to do a little bit more work with only 10 on board.
Yeah, I'm going to have to, I think. But I've got a new vigour after sailing the 18 over in Garda, so I'm into it. But
congratulations on that second.
Thanks, mate. I thought I'd just drop that in. But no, I'm really looking forward to the race, having actually just 10 people on board. So we're sailing the boat as light as we possibly can. So the forecast at the moment for us to maximise the opportunity for the boat is looking good. I'd like to be giving Rico a bit of a run for his money, to be honest. I think that'll be a bit of fun. And hopefully Rico's taking a few more meat pies than us.
Great. All right, Sean, thanks very much. All the best for the race.
Thanks, Rob.
And all the best here for the Noakes group and the future.
Thank you.